Hey there, welcome to the BFF Insider series where I take you behind the homepage to find out exactly how online business owners just like you got started with building their business and what it really takes to grow your business online. And today I am joined by Kerryn Hewson. She is a productivity queen, systems expert, and fully responsible for my own web design packages not being the hot mess that they were before I met her. So, Kerryn, thank you so much for joining me today. Just tell us a little bit about, who you are and how you kind of came into this work that you do over in Adventures in Productivity.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon. So I'm Kerryn Hewson. I'm a productivity and systems strategist for online businesses. I mostly work with creative mompreneurs, but that's by no means limited, to help them simplify, streamline, automate, and outsource their business activities. So that's a bit of a four-step process that I take people through. And it's really so that you can reclaim your time and you can get refocused on the activities that are going to grow your business, allow yourself to spend more time with your family and do all of that lifestyle stuff that you built your business to be able to do. Because a lot of the times we've just created a job for ourselves and we're like, that wasn't what was supposed to happen.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that. And I am a mompreneur of a 6-month-old puppy. So I guess I fit into your demographic. She takes up a lot of time.
Absolutely. I loved seeing her on some of your Facebook Lives when you first got her. Yes, just as distracting as a little baby or toddler.
Yeah. Yep, she's ginormous. So when did you start this business and why did you start it?
Yeah, so I started it about 12 months ago, and I came up with the idea when I was about 8 months pregnant, which is not the ideal time to start a business. But I have a background in project management and business analysis or business systems in the corporate world. So I'd worked on software development projects, I'd worked in the travel industry, I did a lot of work for the government over here in New Zealand. And also for banks and things. So I had a lot of experience with big systems, but my options to go back to work after maternity leave were really limited because you have to really get absorbed in the business that you're helping and really understand the nitty gritty of what they do, which Shannon, you'll know from working together. So going back to work with big businesses, it was really going to be, a 4 to 5 day commitment going back into full time, which I didn't want to do. So I had that idea after having some free calls with people that I could adapt that expertise and I guess that knowledge base to online businesses and small business, where the amount of stuff they've got going on, the number of people they've got, and just the pace at which the business works would be much more suited to working with me sort of every other week or every week for a couple hours. And it just brought the scale of it right down to something that could be really flexible for where I am in my life right now. And I was also super excited to bring this kind of background and experience to small businesses and help them grow, because it's an area really specifically that's not really been available to small business.
So did you know that you could build a business yourself online? Like, how did you hear about, the industry of the online entrepreneur and really see how your skill set could intersect with this industry? How did you discover it?
Okay, let's go back. So I had a life prior to doing this where I was a novel writer, a fiction writer.
Really?
And yeah, so I have a bit of writing background, and so I was really committed to pursuing publication of novels and trying to find that one. So I sort of got into blogging really early on when I did, oh my gosh, NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month, back in 2005. I'm going to date myself now. Yeah, so I started my very first blog back in like November 2005. And that was really my first venture, I guess, online into the blogging space from a novel writing perspective. And self-publishing started to become a thing a bit more around, I guess, from 2007-ish, 2008 onwards. So that was really where I first started learning about, grow an audience online, and then you can launch something, which in this case happened to be, a fiction book. And then I had a bad experience with my last novel that I spent 2 years working on, because writing like 50,000 to 100,000 words on a novel and having like a coherent story and everything, there's a lot, again, it's all like logistics and process, so there's lots of parallels going on there. And I sort of was like, okay, I need to start from scratch. And I realized that I guess the message and the general perspective I was trying to bring into the world through fiction was something that I could do in other mediums and other work as well. So I kind of transitioned to an intermediate website, which was Color Your Life, kind of a positive living blog. So it sort of kept blogging, but took it more into I guess, lifestyle, positive living, trying to figure out what my thing was. And that's when, I guess, over about 4-ish years prior to starting Adventures in Productivity, I was just absorbing everything about online business, reading blogs, watching webinars. I was doing all of that, seeing these other people do what I was realizing was possible for me, but I just hadn't figured out what my niche was and what I could really bring. And everything I was trying to test out, I had that like imposter syndrome thing happening, because it just wasn't quite the right fit. It just wasn't using the experience and expertise that I have in the right way. So that was kind of the lead up to me going, aha, I don't want to go back to work full time. I can adapt what I've been doing for corporates and try doing it for online business, and do it online as well. So I'm not limited to my little corner of the Pacific down here in New Zealand. I can talk to and work with anyone around the world.
So that's how we met, Color Your Life. But I just, one thing that you really said kind of stood out to me is that I think a lot of times people that are kind of starting this side hustle or this solopreneur thing think that it has to be something completely different than what they get paid to do at their job during the day. And, my experience and what I have found, and what I found with a lot of other people, is that you can take that skill that someone else is paying you to do, and take it and make it your own, and make it your own brand, and do it the way you want to do it for other people, and not the way that you have to do it as dictated by your employer. So so you already have that thing somebody's willing to pay you for, and even if it's, real industry specific, there's probably a skill that you apply to it that can be like picked up and taken out of that and applied to other things. So I think that it's really great that you kind of, worked your way back into, I have this skill set that I use, to help business owners, and I can take it and make it my own. And I think that's fantastic. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Just to dig in on that, because I think the reason I was able to come up with that was because I had started maternity leave. Because in my mindset, I guess prior to that, it was like, I want to escape the day job. I want to do something different in a different setting. And when I was on maternity leave for a couple of weeks, that was when I got that distance, I guess, from being in my day job to be able to think like that. So yeah, I think there is that parallel. I guess people say, I don't want to be working a day job, and so they start looking at something completely different. Whereas you can just say, what if I did everything the way I wanted to, and removed all the frustrations that I get from trying to do it somebody else's way, and working with all these people that I know aren't a great fit, and go find the people that I'm going to love working with in the way that I work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that transition from Color Your Life to Adventures in Productivity is kind of where we met, because I had helped you kind of do your domain name change and make sure all that stuff went really smooth when you rebranded and turned about a year ago into Color Your Life. So you actually built your website yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And you did that because you already had experience building your blog and understanding all of that. Tell me a little bit more about your experience doing that.
Sure. So yeah, I have a background in IT and information technology. I actually did my degree again, prior to 2005 in that. So, and I've been working with software development. So I've got a really good base knowledge that also gives me enough knowledge to know when I should be outsourcing it to someone who knows more than me. So my first blog was just on Blogger back in 2005, and I really only shifted off that to do Colour Your Life. And that was a WordPress site because I'd kind of been, I guess, again, I'd been reading up and looking at things, and I knew enough that it was something I'd be able to get to grips with fairly easily, because behind the scenes, for someone who's got a base level of knowledge, it's pretty easy to navigate, and it could do, with all the plugins and extensions and everything it's got, it could do a lot, and it's really well maintained. Like, it's got such a community around it. Even, you know, 5 years ago, it had such a community of developers and everything around it to give you confidence that it'll be around, and if something goes wrong, there's people and answers out there. So that was one of the reasons that I got into WordPress. And it was I managed to do my own like hosting and get my original hosting and domain set up. My husband's also in IT, so this was also pre-baby. I have, my daughter's almost 2 in a few months, so he was able to help me with that more technical side as well, because he's works in the more technical aspect of that. So that was helpful. But then when it came to moving over to Adventures in Productivity, I was like, oh no, I have to like shift a website, do stuff with domains. I don't want to pay for like more hosting. How do you actually transition? And I knew enough about the logistics of how it had to happen that I didn't know how to execute it. And I didn't want my husband losing a day when we'd rather be spending the time with my daughter to try figure it out and have that added stress of, have you broken it? Have you not? So that was really the point where I think I'd found you through your 5-day website challenge, and I used that to help me tick all the boxes and really just make sure that I had the foundation right for Adventures in Productivity, and, you know, had the right like security plugin back there, and make sure that the backups were like going to happen, and had all of that going on. And yeah, that's when I was just like, no, I need to ask Shannon if she can do it for me. And it was amazing. You were so, I just have to rave about you for a second. It was so quick when I got in touch. You were like, oh yeah, I can do it this weekend. And I was not ready. I was like, hold on, what? Do it this weekend? This was like not my plan. But I just jumped on board. I was like, yes, just do it. Let's get it done. And yeah, it was so quick and easy. You were so clear on like what you needed from me to get into all of the places to move it over. And then it was just like magic because of the time difference. I just like went to sleep, and when I woke up the next day, it was just there. So yeah, it was fantastic.
That's so funny. And I think that was pre us working together. So pre me really having like a really well-established process down. And I like really didn't have a good handle on how to schedule things. So I'm just like, oh, client work, oh, weekend, okay, like we can do it right now, instead of, which I have gotten myself into trouble as you know, and you helped me set up a system to better plan out my client projects and schedule things throughout our work together, because I didn't really have a clear understanding of everything that I had open, where it was at in its process, what dates were kind of all assigned, and when things would be flowing through. So yeah, I probably told 5 people that weekend that I could have their thing done that weekend too. So I so appreciate like the system that you helped me set up to keep track of that. Has just been such a weight off of my mind and my shoulders to really just be able to say with confidence when I can add work to my schedule and not kind of just say yes to everything. So that's been huge for me. So to kind of dig a little bit deeper into your business, and you're pretty new being in this for just 1 year, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about going out on their own and starting their own thing?
Yeah, one of the things, I guess, as a very like first startup thing that I did, which really helped me keep moving, was that when we launched Adventures in Productivity, it was just like, well, 1 and a bit pages. Like, I didn't go into developing this whole full website and lose months of my time to, you know, trying to write my about page up and all of my services and get this all together. And I've got a blog post on this as well, the actual timing of how I grew my website over the last 12 months. But
we'll link that up in the description of this episode so people can go read it.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I really started with the bare minimum. So I had a friend who I'd tested my services out on recommend someone to me, and I'm like freaking out because I've not got a website up. I've not got like any processes. I was just trying things out to see whether I could translate what I was doing for corporate to small business. And she's like, I know you're not really ready, but I've got a customer for you. So I was like, okay, like email, like connect us. So that helped me realize that as far as a website went, I just needed something that told people who I was, what I did, how I could help them, and the next step they could take, like the very one next step they could take to get in touch with me. So I wrote up my about page, which covered those things, and it had a link to book a free call with me. And so that was the website. I had a sort of page to transition my Color Your Life readers over if they wanted to come along on this new journey with me. But really, it was just that one page. So that's one thing I would say, like, just keep it really simple and get started so you can start promoting yourself. You can start telling people about what you do, and you've got somewhere to direct them for more information. I think the next thing I did was to like create an opt-in, because that's the other thing. Like, if you don't have, I was collecting email addresses, like if someone was signing up for a free call with me. But the very next priority for me was to create a freebie so that I could be, growing my list and doing that. But that's one thing where I've, I grew my list, so I didn't have it, and then I added it on, and then I created the package that you went through, the systems for business growth. So then I wrote a sales page for that, and that was after I'd already worked with a couple people on it. And then I put that up there. So I've been able to grow my website in line with how my business has been growing, rather than it having to be done before I can make any progress.
I think that is a really, really smart way to go about things, because I feel like you are kind of like, you're testing, you're putting a little bit out there, you're seeing, you're working with people, you're seeing how that unfolds, and then you're able to really get some feedback from them in order to figure out like what your next step is. It's like you're doing this really iterative process of growing your business, which is kind of opposite of what I did. And I ended up, now I'm doing it, but it's like, I created the 5-day website challenge was great. I mean, I think it like filled a gap in the marketplace as far as, quality WordPress training. But then taking that next step to what people wanted next, I didn't slow down to ask people or to test anything. I just built it. And I built it to silence and to no response. So I think that the way that you're going about it, of like, let me just get enough up to get to actually talk to people and work with people and find out what they need and how I can offer that, and then create that thing and then put that out there. And like, you're just kind of doing these iterative moves instead of like all by yourself in your office behind your laptop building this thing that you're not even sure anybody needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that iterative thing, that again was a little bit of experience translated from the software development world that I'm sure you'll be familiar with as well, is to put something out there and test it. And again, those years that I read and consumed a lot of information before launching this business, that was, I think, it's minimum viable product. If you want to Google it, there's a whole bunch of resources out about that concept. So that again was like background experience that I had gathered to just sort of bust the myth of overnight business building.
Right. So what do you think with your experience and kind of transitioning from this corporate job to really starting to build your dream business, what do you think is the number one determining factor between someone who gets what they want and someone who kind of stays stuck where they are?
I think it's to embrace that experimenting, and this does kind of lead really nicely onto what we were just talking about. One of the philosophies that I sort of teach all the time is that you need to experiment, not just with what you offer and how well it's received by an audience, but with how you work. So if you're trying to do something new and you don't really know how it's going to fit within your work week, and you don't really know what part of it you might have trouble with, don't start working on it, see something's broken and throw the whole thing out. Think, okay, how can I change it, and can I test doing the same thing but in a different way to make it fit with me and my business? Because I always really want people to put their lifestyle first and not to be working super long hours, and to be able to adapt and grow with their lifestyle. And I think a lot of that is to be able to experiment and test things and adapt and figure out how to do it the way you want to get the outcome you want.
So instead of just deciding beforehand that this is what I'm going to do and this is the way it's going to be, have an idea, test, get the feedback, and then adjust.
Be open to improving it. I don't want to say be open to failing, but be open to improving it. You're going out with this idea, and also when you do go out with it, think of how you can measure that result. So that's something I think I should have been doing a lot earlier, is putting that kind of measurement in place. And sometimes it can be really simple, just you manually tracking something in a notebook. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but just when you're putting something out there, asking people follow-up questions, being able to get the feedback you need to improve it and to change.
So you mentioned something earlier about, not wanting to, have people work long hours and having a good work-life balance. And really what you do is to help people do that. But tell us a little bit more about your your typical day or your typical week. What does that look like?
Okay, I'll tell you. Sorry, I'm laughing because anyone who has tried to work with a baby and a toddler,
this is a typical week.
Even with your puppy, it's it's crazy. So right now, and I've just come back from a couple weeks holiday, so I've actually reduced my hours to again experiment and test out and see whether my work still fits. So I work in New Zealand Sundays. I work a half day on Sunday, I work a whole day on my Tuesday, and then a half day on Wednesday, and that's about 15 hours a week. So it's not a lot of hours overall. I was squeezing in 20 hours previously by working evenings and nap times. My daughter's not napping anymore, so that stopped working. And she's really full on now as a chatty toddler, so working in the evenings is really hard. I need that time to mentally give myself a break. So those are my kind of working times at the moment, and I'm just playing with how to fit the different types of work that I need to do in a week and how that's going to break down. So one of the things I do every week is go on Facebook Live and answer people's questions and offer advice and tips. So I know at the beginning of those 3 days, that's the very first thing that I do. So yeah, I'm just starting to slot in all of those activities into that day. But I mean, I've changed that sort of schedule up or ideal work week up pretty much every 3 months over the last 12 to 15 months, with my daughter growing and changing, and my abilities to work in different times as well. So that's definitely an example of keeping on experimenting, keeping on carving time out of your week for your work and your business. Even when certain things stop working, like your children stop napping.
I think that's really important to understand that the schedule is going to change, that life's going to change. It doesn't remain the same constantly all the time. And instead of kind of letting those changes stress you out because now you don't have enough time to just be intentful about adjusting what you're doing with the time that you do have. And I think that's a total mindset shift also that I really appreciate you hearing that, because I do fall onto the side of, well, I had this planned and now I don't have this time, so now I'm stressed out. So I think that that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, that was hard for me. I am a bit of a control freak. I'm a really planned and organized person, which works well. But yeah, when things stop working, I get like really annoyed that my plan like isn't working anymore. And the other thing I was going to say just on this is it's not just the amount of hours and where you do those hours in a week that can change. I mean, like we've worked through, it's also how you do the work within those hours. And that's one thing that I focus on a lot, how you can do that more effectively and efficiently where it's relevant to outsource and automate. So when you do get stuck with time and you feel like more hours is the solution, there's often a lot of other ways that you can, claw back time. So it's not just reorganizing your schedule, but I do love people to start with that sort of model work week so they can see what's going on.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because I think with you and you pointed out so many places where I don't have to be the person doing that. If we put a system in place for that piece, then I can just outsource and check in on that work, and I don't actually have to be the one doing it. So that's really where, one, we take back control of our time and our schedule, but two, it allows us to scale our businesses and not have to add more time to it. So I think that that's fantastic. So you mentioned Facebook Live is something that you're committed to doing. What other ways do you promote adventures and productivity?
So I've just, earlier this year, I kind of threw out my marketing plan and started afresh. And that's where the Facebook Live stuff came in. But that was really like, blank slate after almost a year. So again, don't be afraid to throw things out and change things up when you kind of learn and come up with a new way. So I knew that Facebook Live for me, because of the type of work I do, one-on-one services work, if people hear me talking about something on Facebook Live, that's pretty much going to be the same thing as like people watching right now, or people, jumping on a video call and working with me. So I felt that was a really good fit. So I'm doing that 3 times a week now. So every day I'm working. And then I have kind of a repurposing and distribution system, so that I take that and I put those videos up on YouTube as well. So they're up on YouTube, all tagged and searchable there. I create a blog post, so I feature one of those videos that week and put them on my blog with the other things like this is what else we were talking about on Facebook. In that same blog post. Then I create Pinterest images for all of those and pin them out on Pinterest. So I've got a Pinterest strategy going on. And then I also send that featured video out to my newsletter. So that's kind of my core content strategy. And I've also got some other posts going out on Facebook during the week, like testimonials and other tools that I like and stuff like that. So that's kind of the core thing that I'm working on. And then the other thing I'm trying to do is to get in front of other people, like doing this right now, interviews, because again, I feel whether it's audio or video as well, it's a really good showcase of what it's like working with me. And it's also really nice and quick for me to, rather than like a guest posting or something that can take up so much more time. And I also feel like it's easier for me to explain things over video or audio as well. So again, that's why I'm looking for, to be interviewed on podcasts and do webinars and collaborations and different things with people like that as well. So those are kind of the things that, I've got going on to get the word out about me and what I do.
I've noticed that you're really consistent with your marketing. I see you in my inbox all the time, which I think is fantastic. And I also agree, video is faster. It's faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can hop on Facebook Live and in 15 minutes say everything it would take you 2 to 3 hours to write in a blog post. So, I mean, if we're talking about taking our time back as entrepreneurs, that I feel like that's really the place to be, with consistency, which I'm not always that great at, but
It's hard, and it's only since getting this Facebook Live strategy together where I feel like I can take those videos and put them into different places and just repurpose the content rather than recreate it, that it's been a lot less stressful for me to be consistent. I'd also say that the one exception I feel to video is great, and it also saves us a lot of time. I've got a client of mine who's transitioning from being a VA to also doing or to specializing in like copywriting and then all of the distribution and repurposing stuff. So for her, having a blog and writing blog posts which really showcase how she writes and what she would do for someone else, that's her business, that's her service. So that's a really good fit for her over video or even a mix of video, because I always feel like it's great to feel like you're sitting and chatting and hanging out with someone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are some subjects that just don't lend themselves well to video, where they may require like a more in-depth conversation or discussion or kind of breakdown of everything, where you want to be able to go back and just reference or, have it be super SEO optimized. That's better done with words than video sometimes, in my opinion. So let's talk numbers. You have an email list. You talked about that you were building that slowly. So how many subscribers did you started out with 0, obviously we all did. So how many have you built up to this point?
I've built up to a very humble 100 on my email list. Yeah. I have an idea for a newsletter actually for my list, which is like what I don't want you to know about my business, because I've shared numbers before, and when you suggested it, I was like, I'm just going to do it. Because, and I just wanted to share this from a mindset perspective, because I have had a bit of this hang up about like, I'm new in business and the people that I really need to help are further along than me. And, it's really not, and from obviously talking with you today, it's really not a reflection of my expertise or anything like that where my business is, but there's definitely been that kind of link where I'm going, oh, but I'm only small, like I don't have this foundation and this bigger presence and everything else like the people do that I want to be helping. But then I think about like my corporate days, and I'm like, I went into really big businesses and like government departments and stuff. But some reason when you start going out on your own and doing business on your own, like weird mindset stuff comes up. So I just wanted to share that as well. I love it when people share numbers and they share the whole picture as well. I know you did a blog post, I think the end of last year, sharing about a launch and not just the revenue and how great it was, but like how much you actually could pay yourself at the end of it, which is often the bit where people don't share, and it's a whole lot less and more realistic than they give the impression. So I just wanted to like have a little spiel about that.
I love that you said 100, because I think everybody expects that you're going to say 1,000 or 10,000 or 5, and you don't have to have a huge list to get clients, to make money, to build your dream job. You have 100 people that are interested in what you do. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like the step, that's proof right there that you're on the right track. If you had 10 after a year, I'd be like, why, you must not be promoting your list. But so it is, it's like, we all can't, that's kind of why I call it like behind the homepage, what it's really take, because everybody talks about, having a $10,000 launch. And like you said, like when at the end of the day, I can't remember what that exact number was, but I don't pay myself very much every month. I pay myself a few $100s a month after having my first $10,000 month, because I'm investing everything back in the business. I have to pay taxes. I've got a lot of expenses. So it's just, that revenue number and that list number are always like the ones that, you know, it's like, oh, follow me, listen to me, because I have a big list and I make, you know, all this money. You're an expert in something that online business owners need to be able to even get to 100 people on their list, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm just so grateful that you shared that with me, because I have asked other people and they don't want to share. They don't want to share that number. And I just think it helps everybody listening to hear that number, you know, from different people, to see, you know, you don't have to have 1,000 people. Don't get discouraged if you have 100 people, because you're still going after it. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think our audience is going to be like,
that just reminded me. Yeah, just chill. Like, you'll grow, you'll get in front of more people, and ultimately, so long as the right people, like with me and Shannon connecting, you know, finding you, then that's what can really matter.
Yeah, definitely. And so do you have any other numbers that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I looked these up when you sent through a couple of the questions. So the best month I've had over the last 12 months was $1,500 in revenue. I've not paid myself anything, just to like
for the first like however many months. Yeah.
Money in. Yep. My lowest earning month was a whole $15, 15, which was like a random affiliate sale.
Sure.
So it was like the other end of the scale. So I've definitely had, I think, that first year where you're starting to find the people, but you've not figured out how to do that on a consistent basis.
And you're fine-tuning your offering and how you sell it and all of that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So my expenses recently, I took the brave leap of getting my husband really involved, and he comes from sort of a real risk-averse mindset. He's in security in IT, so that's what he does for a job. So we've scaled like my expenses right down. So on a core monthly basis, they're coming in at under $100.
That's awesome.
So yeah, then I do want to that's like base ongoing. There are things on top of that, like annually, you know, my hosting and domain are going to come up, and there's a membership program that I subscribe to on an annual basis, so that comes up. There's also other courses and training and things that I might buy on a one-off basis, or do like a payment plan over 3 months. So that sort of stuff does come on top of it. But
so that's your recurring. Your recurring is under 100. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. So like if I was just to try keep ticking along without sort of investing more in learning and training, then that's pretty much where I'm at. And that's for things like, you know, my email provider, I use ConvertKit. It's for my calendar scheduler, so that I use Acuity scheduling. It's for my Google, for my email. I can't remember the couple other things off the top of my head, but you know, it's those kind of base foundation tools that really help you do things without having to do everything manually. Yeah, or deal with time zones, which I hate. I love my calendar, my scheduler, for dealing with time zones for me.
Yeah, that's huge. Acuity is really awesome. I love that you shared that, and I did a post like how much money I made in my first 6 months, and like way back then. I mean, that's what happened. You don't start at $10,000 months. It takes time to build up to that. And so I feel like people get discouraged with everything that they see online about, you know, I'll teach you how to do a $10,000 launch. And well, you don't have the foundation to do that. You wouldn't know what to do with all those people once you got them anyway. So that would be like a big fizzle out if you had that, you know, happen right off the bat. And so I feel like, you know, the growth trajectory, I don't want to say the slower the better, but the more like consistent, steady, the better. I feel like the more chance you have of sustainability in the long term.
Yeah, that's right. Because one thing that I'm just reminded of from a book I read called The Successful Mistake was about a woman in business who got on the front page of Yahoo. And then her website went down because she was not ready for the volume of traffic and didn't expect necessarily for that to happen. The worst part of the story, or best part, I'm not sure, is what happened next was that not only did that happen once to her, it happened again. So it happened once and she kind of learned from it, but then again, she had all of these people coming to her. And like you're saying, she didn't have the structure in place and the systems in place to be able to really handle that increased volume. So I think there's definitely a little cycle that we go through when we grow our audience and launch a product and provide it to people, where we do need to level up our systems and our structure as we do that and grow our business. So we are supported.
Absolutely. And I love that that's what you help people do, because when you and I did like a call for my Done For You package, I think it was, because I was just having a really hard time with that. I was having a hard time, getting clients moved through the process. I was having a hard time not spending way too much time on things. I didn't have like the specifics of each step in the process dialed in. It was kind of like, you have a project, this is what you want. Okay, I'm just gonna like build it. And there was no system behind it other than just, I know how to build a website and this is what I normally do. But that in a vacuum with no client works really, really well. when you add the client and their opinions and their needs and their decisions and their payments and everything in, that whole thing falls apart. And so when you then add more clients on top of that, I was to the point, well, one, I had already given up on one-on-one sites because of this before. And that's when I built up the passive income, WPBFF, teach people how to do it themselves, because I just can't deal with these clients. And then you and I talked, because what I did not expect is for clients to actually want me to do it for them. I'm like, I'm teaching you how to do it for free. Why do you want to pay me to do it for you? I'm just going to build for you what I'm teaching you to do for free. But there are, like you said, there are people know when they just don't want to do it. And I guess I was kind of giving people a taste of, do you really want to do this? Because this is what you're going to be doing. And they're like, nope, I don't want to do it. Will you do it for me? So I did not expect that. And so, not wanting to leave money on the table, so to speak, I had kind of got myself into a pretty big mess. And when we connected and we talked and you just helped me, one, our discovery call was like amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a way to get out of this. And then we worked through each piece and part, specifically one by one by one, to the point that I was able to take the work that we did and not only apply it to make my one-on-one projects more efficient, I was also able to take that system and package it and teach it to other people and build a whole new level of my business, a whole new arm of my business with those systems and processes that I would not have been able to build without having that systematized. So I don't know if you understand the value that you have brought to me. It's over tens of thousands of dollars in value that you brought to me just with our certain, what is it called? The business systems.
Yeah, systems for business growth.
Systems for business growth. I mean, that was invaluable to, me having my first $10,000 month would not have been possible if not for the work that we did together. So I just think that you're awesome and amazing. And everybody should go to adventuresandproductivity.com and sign up for your newsletter. What do you have going on right now that I can share with our audience?
Yeah, so the freebie I've got at the moment is my Get Focused workbook. And that is kind of going to take you through your whole business. So this is a really kind of high level, it's a set of worksheets, but it's also got a couple of walkthrough videos. So I talk to you about, I call it the cycle of overwhelm, and the way you're working now, that means you're just going around in circles and having to like get burnt out every now and then and recover. into the cycle of growth by being strategic about what you're doing and how you're growing and how you're spending your time. And then go through and evaluate all the stuff you've done in 6 different areas to see what's worked and what hasn't. So you can just cut yourself free of the things that have not been working or you've not had the time to fully implement, and start focusing on the core things, the core activities you need to do in your business to maintain it at the level that you're at. Because once you know what they are and you can fit that into your week really easily and really clearly with time to spare, you can use that time to spare on those growth projects, and you can start growing without falling into overwhelm and burnout. So yeah, that's my Get Focused workbook. You can get that at kerrynhewson.com/get-focused, I think, but it's right there on the homepage as well at kerrynhewson.com. So that's my freebie that you can, jump in and grab.
Awesome. Oh, I keep saying adventuresandproductivity.com, but it's not. It's kerrynhewson.com. Does it go? Yeah. Did we set it up to both go there? I can't remember if we did or not.
I need to have a look. I'm not sure that it is.
I'll link it up in the description so that you guys can just click, and it'll be really easy, and you don't have to, type in the wrong thing that I said. So what are your goals for the future? What are your next 3 to 6 months look like? And maybe a year if you're that far ahead.
I have like my overarching plan that doesn't have a timeline on it. I don't like deadlines very much because I find that they stress me out and they just put me in like a negative mindset because I miss them or I skip them, because it's really hard when you're doing something new, especially, to know how long it's going to take. You just most of the time don't. So by no fault of your own, you're like picking this date out of the air, and then it starts becoming this whole issue. So my sort of plan is to be working one-on-one with people, developing those offerings, and then kind of transition into group programs, transition into passive incomes, and kind of guiding people through things themselves. So that's my kind of overarching vision, I suppose, for where to take my services. But right now I've got the Systems for Business Growth program. So that's where I work through a whole product or service that someone has, really break it down and make it scalable. The other thing that I've got is a sort of shorter version of that, which is a 90-minute one-off Get Focused session where we can sort of take one part of what we might do in a bigger program and just, really nut out the big problem you've got right now to get you over that hump. But one of the things that I realized recently was that I need to get way more specific. And in doing the Facebook Lives, one of the things that's really come out is when people are trying to do online marketing and content creation and getting on social media all the time, that becomes super overwhelming and there's hardly any structure and you don't know what is actually working for you and what's not. So I'm taking that subset, and right now I'm writing a sales page for a new offer that's specifically taking people through really that marketing part of their business, so we can get the essentials of your marketing that are working now for you, and you can get strategic about growing and experimenting and doing that. So that's the brand new thing. So I'm kind of I guess doing that testing and iterative thing through my Facebook Lives, kind of saying, okay, what is a really specific topic that is coming up a lot for people? And then I'm going to test out this new offer. It's going to be around a 90-minute session with a bunch of pre-work and follow-up and all sorts of stuff. But I'll test that out probably at a super low, affordable price for people, just to like plug that. And then grow and iterate that and see how I can make that work really well and make it really accessible. So that's what I'm currently like. After we wrap up here, I'm going to be looking at my my sales page.
Well, very cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and being super transparent with your numbers. Just for anybody out there that's worried about their list size, I didn't ask Kerryn how big her email list was before I forked over money to work with her, because I just knew, you know, and that's the experience that the way that she presented herself, the marketing that she did, and everything built that know, like, and trust factor rapport for me to know that she was going to deliver on what I needed. So I hope that you guys that are watching and maybe feeling a little bit like, oh, I've just started on this, who should pay me, like those kind of fraudy imposter feelings. Oh, my list isn't big enough, or I don't have enough, I'm not enough, whatever it is. That's not what your perfect customer is looking at you for. So again, thank you so much, everyone. Go to KerrynHewson.com. I'll link that up in the description to get focused workbook. And yeah, we will be back in the next couple weeks with another episode of the BFF Insiders. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
I think that's fantastic. It's been great chatting. We've covered all sorts of things I never thought we would. I hope it'll be really helpful for people to hear, yeah, how I've gone through to get to where I am, and yeah, those little nuggets of wisdom I'm sure we've dropped in.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.